Hi, I'm Lucy, and thanks so much for joining me today on Beautifully Unfinished. This is the podcast about midlife and all the facets of it. The messy bits, the meaningful bits, and yes, the truly glorious bits too. It's a space for honest conversations about life, love, loss, growth, reinvention, and everything in between. Because none of us have it all figured out. And maybe that's the beauty of it. So grab a cuppa, get comfortable, and let's dive into today's episode. Last week, I spoke about hugs, about comfort and human connection. And the week before that, I spoke about betrayal, about the hurt that comes when people disappoint you. And I think today's episode almost feels like the next chapter to those conversations. Because eventually, after the heartbreak, after the overthinking, after trying to hold everything together, we reach a point where we simply have to let go. Not give up, not stop caring, but let go. Let go of trying to control everything and everyone around us. Because trying to be everything to everyone is honestly exhausting. And for me this year, I generally felt like my batteries had been completely depleted. In fact, I got to a point where I physically could not keep doing all the things that I felt I needed to be doing. I just didn't have the strength anymore. And somewhere during that exhaustion, I came across a wonderful book. I've been following Mel Robbins on YouTube, and she's incredible. But she's written this book called The Let Them Theory. And the Let Them Theory is quite incredible. It's so powerful, those two words, let them. You must try and use it. It is amazing. When I started to use that phrase, every time things felt a little stressful and I was a little out of control, I used that, let them. Because so much of our exhaustion comes from trying to manage other people's opinions, reactions, their choices, their moods, and their approval. So we spend so much time trying to make people happy, trying to explain ourselves, trying not to disappoint anyone. And the truth is, you'll never satisfy everyone. Because no matter how hard you try, there will always be someone who misunderstands you, someone who will judge you, someone who will think that you should have done more. And if you spend your entire life trying to keep everyone comfortable and happy, you're going to lose yourself in the process. One of the hardest lessons I learned through betrayal was realizing that no amount of loving someone can make them become who you need them to be. And as painful as that was, it was also strangely liberating because it allowed me to move on, to move forward. And perhaps that's where the power of the let them comes in. If people want to judge you, let them. If people misunderstand you, let them. If they gossip, so what? Let them. If people choose distance, let them. Because the reality is we cannot control other people. We never could. And the only person we truly have power over is ourselves. And maybe that's where the second part of her theory comes in. It's the part I keep thinking about. Let me. Let me choose peace. Let me stop abandoning myself to please others. Let me protect my energy. Let me stop carrying opinions that were never mine to begin with. Let me live intentionally. Let me be fully present in my life, because opinions are powerful, aren't they? Sometimes one careless comment can stay with you for years. And before we know it, we're living according to someone else's expectation instead of our own truth. And I think so many of us are walking around carrying emotional weight that was never ours to start with. Old betrayals, regrets, disappointments, and stories, wrong stories about ourselves that slowly stop us from living freely. And meanwhile, life keeps moving, doesn't stop and go on pause while we overthink, while our children grow up, our parents grow older, our friendships drift, moments pass. Time feels a bit like an ice cube melting in your hands. You're desperate for it to slow down, but you cannot. And that thought hits deeply for me. So many times recently, I find myself looking at pictures of my parents. Think about the moments I was too busy rushing through life. And I think one particular occasion I keep thinking of is my father had a little tomato field that he was so proud of. He was growing these tomatoes in this friend's field. I never went to see it because I was too busy. Think about my mum too, and how sometimes all she wanted was just a few more minutes in my visit, just a little more time. And honestly, that hits me so deep, because the older I get, the more I realize life is made up of those ordinary moments. Ordinary moments we don't recognize as precious until they're gone. Not the massive milestones or the big holidays, just the ordinary things. A conversation, waking up with someone you love, reading a story to my grandchildren, pruning roses with my granddaughter, a cup of tea with a friend, or a hug with a special friend. And maybe the blessing in all of this, and strangely the blessing in this podcast journey too, is that it has made me so much more aware of how important those small moments really are. How important it is to nurture relationships, to slow down, to really see people while they're here. And I'm still very much a work in progress, trying to get this right, because there are still days I question myself completely. Days I wonder whether my voice actually matters, whether anyone wants to hear what I have to say. And then someone sends me a beautiful message relating to the podcast, and suddenly I remember why connection matters. And I sit there thinking about the hours I spend at my laptop working. Chasing what exactly? More money? More success? More validation? Sometimes I genuinely don't know. And there's this huge lesson for me personally, because even though I talk about all these things, I need to truly take notice of them too. The other day, I was walking from my car, completely caught up in my thoughts, and suddenly I looked up, and there, standing in front of me, was the most magnificent sunset. Orange, pink, gold, absolutely breathtaking. And for a moment, everything went quiet. And I thought to myself, life is short. We get one shot, one precious, messy, beautiful life. And maybe we were never meant to be spending all of it rushing. Because I'm guilty too. Guilty of spending too many hours working, too many moments getting distracted, too many times worrying about things that won't matter in 5 years. And when you really think about it, at the end of our lives, no one's going to stand at our grave talking about the extra hours we worked. Can you believe it? They will remember the moments, and they will remember how we made them feel. Ask anyone who's lost a parent, a spouse, a sibling, a child, or a dear friend. What would they give for one more ordinary moment? One more cup of tea or coffee together, one more hug, one more laugh in the kitchen, one more I love you. And yet, so often in our fast-paced lives, we neglect the people who matter most, while chasing things that ultimately mean very little. We drown in the noise of life, but when you strip away all that noise, I truly believe that the heart of life is simple. It's love, contentment, peace, happiness, and joy. Not perfection, not status, not endless productivity, but being true to who you really are. Nurturing relationships, treasuring the people you love, and allowing yourself to truly see people and to be seen. And one thing I have found so profoundly moving during my journey and my moments of self-doubt, and yes, lots of imposter syndrome, is receiving beautiful messages from listeners. Messages from people saying, I can relate. I needed this today. You explained exactly what I've been feeling. And honestly, what a privilege that is, because it reminds me that connection matters more than perfection ever will. We do not have to have all the answers. We just need to be real. At the end of the day, we are hardwired to want control, right? But life keeps teaching us the same lesson over and over and over again. We cannot control other people. We cannot control time. We cannot control every outcome, but we can control our response. And that's where true power lies. Choosing peace is not a weakness. It's a superpower. And protecting your peace while refusing to let bitterness consume you, that's strength. And that's why the Let Them theory with Mel Robbins feels so powerful to me, because it is not about becoming passive. It's about becoming free. So perhaps today, this is your reminder. Let them judge. Let them misunderstand. Let them leave. Let them doubt you. And then let yourself heal. Let yourself grow. Let yourself rest. Let yourself choose joy. Let yourself embrace the people who truly matter, and let yourself live fully before that ice cube melts away. Because life is precious. Connection's precious. Peace is precious. And maybe the greatest gift we can give ourselves is finally letting go of everything we never needed to control in the first place. Thank you so much for spending the time with me today on Beautifully Unfinished. If this episode resonated with you in some way, if it made you think, if it made you feel seen, or if it reminded you that you're not alone, I'd absolutely love to hear from you. And I'd love for you to like, follow, and subscribe just to help keep this podcast going. And if you feel called to share this episode with someone who just might need to hear it too, I'd love for you to share it. Until next week, take care of yourself, and remember, life does not have to be perfect to be beautiful. It just has to be yours. Till next week, bye for now.